All right, guys, we are in the home stretch here. This is going to be the conclusion to our tutorial series. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to add the options to be able to click between monthly, yearly, and daily so that we can see how much our bills are costing monthly, yearly, and daily. We're also going to be putting in our total cost component, which is going to show how much we're spending and also how much we could be saving. And then finally, we're going to be able to edit and delete bills by the end of this video. So let's dig right in. All right, let's get started. So inside of our components folder, we're going to create another folder, and let's call this bill total. And inside of here, we'll do styles.css. Is it styles or style? Well, style. All right, and then we will do bill total.js. Okay. Let's go ahead and copy one of our other components. Just copy any of them, paste it into bill total, clear out the inside of the return statement, clear out anything inside of here. I go ahead and get rid of that line. And then I'm going to search replace bill list with bill total. Make sure I don't accidentally capitalize my O. And then inside of here, we'll just say, wow, whoa. Okay, inside of here, I'll say hello from bill total, and then I'll save. Inside of my app.js, I'll go ahead and throw that in. I think right here, no, you know what? Below add bill, but above bill list. So we'll say bill total. Make sure you import it, and I'm gonna save it, and let's see what we have. Okay, so I need to make sure that I force this to refresh, I think. Oh, wait. There it is. Okay, so hello from bill total. So it is working properly. So what we want to do is actually go into the component and start writing it. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Well, to start with, we're just going to have it be monthly by default because we need to have that bar up here, which is going to be a separate component that allows you to pick whether or not you want to view the total daily, monthly, or yearly. So for now, we're just going to do monthly. And then once we create that component, we'll make it dynamic. So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to want to, pull from context. And one of the things that we're going to pull from context is our selected cost interval, which is going to be daily, monthly, or yearly. But like I said, since we're going to hard code that, we can just go to our context for now and literally go up here, create some state. We'll say const selected cost interval and set selected cost interval and set that equal to use state. And we can initialize it with monthly. So it'll be monthly by default. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass those through our value here. So selected cost interval and set selected cost interval. I'll save, and now we can access that within our bill total component by saying const, and then we're going to destructure out our values. We're going to want our bills because we're going to want to grab the total from all of the bills, and we're going to want to grab selected cost interval, which right now, again, is hard-coded to monthly. And we want to set that equal to use context. And bill context is the context that we are using. So make sure you have your use context and your bill context imported. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to want a switch statement here. Now, this is where the logic is for our conversion from, because remember, by default, our object has a monthly cost. So when we want to view it daily or when we want to view the total yearly, we're going to have to convert the total. But first, we're going to need the sum. So let's just assume we have the sum and we pass it as an argument to this function we're about to create. We'll call it money interval transform. And we'll say it takes the total cost. And whatever it returns is going to be the converted cost. And we will use a switch statement here. And we're going to switch on, let's actually convert this to a number first. So we'll say const monthly cost is equal to number dot parse float, because it can be a decimal value since we're dealing with dollars. It could be, pennies. So parse float cost. And we're going to switch on selected cost interval, which is this guy right here. And let's say for now, in the case of monthly, we just want to return the monthly cost, the raw monthly cost. So I'll say return monthly cost. So whatever that cost is converted to a number, we're just going to return that. Now, in the case of, we'll say case yearly, in the case of yearly, what we want to return is the monthly cost times 12, because there's 12 months in a year. Okay, and then case, we're going to say weekly, which actually, now that I think about it, we didn't even implement weekly, but we can. So actually, I'm going to put weekly inside of this month money transform. And after the end of this video, I want you guys, if you want to, as homework, to implement the weekly version as well. We'll do daily, but I want you to try to do weekly on your own. So weekly. And then here I'm going to say return monthly cost. Now, I'm going to multiply this by 12 because there's 12 months. So we're getting that yearly cost, and we know that there's 52 weeks in a year. So we can say divided by 52. So then daily. So case daily, return monthly cost. And since we don't know how many days are in the current month you're in, because it could be, 28, it could be 29, 30, 31 days in the month, etc. We will put times 12 to make sure that we get to that yearly value, and then divide that by 365. And that will work as long as it's not a leap year. So return 0 by default, just in case we get some crazy value. Okay, so now we have this function that will convert our value. Let's go ahead and go inside of our return statement and write out the HTML, okay? So I'm going to make some space here. And in between these tags, I'm going to create a div. In fact, it looks like I might not even need, no, yeah, we will need this. So I'm gonna put a div here, and I'm gonna give it a class name. Class name is bill total container. And let's throw some JavaScript in here. We're going to say selected cost interval, and then a colon. No, we're going to say bill cost, colon. So this will be like monthly bill cost, yearly bill cost, daily bill cost, or weekly bill cost if you go through and implement weekly. That's what that will say here. And then inside of here, we're going to throw a span. We'll give this a class name, whoops, of total cost. And in between these tags, we're going to throw in some JavaScript. And we want to put a $sign because the you can put whatever country's currency symbol that you are in. But for the United States, we're going to use a $sign. And then we're going to concatenate that string to the numerical value of the sum of all of our bills after passing it to money interval transform. So one more time, we're going to take the sum of all of our bills, then we're going to pass it to money interval transform, and then we're going to display whatever value that is right here. So in order to get all that, we're going to have to do bills.reduce. And again, I've got a video on how reduce works in JavaScript, and I'm going to put a link in the description below. If you're not super familiar with reduce, please go watch that video. It's really important that you understand how these functions work and not just copy what I'm doing. So if you do not understand reduce, please go watch that video. Again, it's in the description below. Come back to this video and continue. So here we're going to put accumulator and value. And what we want to return, what we're trying to do is get the sum, except we want the sum transformed. So we're going to say return val.enabled, because we only want the sum. We only want to add that bill's monthly cost to the sum if it's enabled. So we're going to say if it's enabled, Then we're going to take that money transform value and we're going to pass val.monthlyCost to it. And then we're going to add that to our accumulator. Okay. And otherwise, we just want to return the accumulator itself. Our default value for our reduce function, our first value, our initial value will be 0 because we're going to be adding from 0 up. We're creating a sum. And after all of this is said and done, once we have that sum, we want to use toFixed to make sure that we only have 2 decimal values at the end. So if it gives us a rounded value of like 32.9685438791, we only want two decimal points because we're dealing with money. So I'm going to put toFixed 2 in there. Now that is going to give us the sum. So I kind of want to see what this looks like so far. I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's see what happens. What do you know? So our monthly bill cost is $814.99. So if we add up all of these, that's going to be equal to $814.99. So that is working as expected. The only thing really left in this component is our styling. So let's go ahead and style this. I'm going to copy over my styles. I want you guys to copy this. I'm going to go over this really quick. Setting the width to 350 pixels, margin auto so it's centered, margin top 25 pixels so there's space between the top and the content, margin bottom 5 pixels, just a little bit of margin bottom, larger font size, and then total cost, we want the font weight to be 600 so it's a little bit bolder, margin left 10 pixels, total saved container, that we have not implemented yet. So did I skip something? It looks like I definitely skipped something. Yeah, I definitely skipped something. So just go ahead and put the CSS in here and save it. See what you have. You can see this is what it looks like now. Now what we want, remember, see, watch. If I uncheck phone bill, you can see the total just went down $45. And then when I put it back, it goes back. So we know this is working, but what we also want is to see how much we're saving. So when I click phone here, this is how much we're spending. And I want to see underneath this saving, like you could be saving $45 per month. So let's add that little piece of functionality really quick. So back to your bill total component, we're essentially going to create another one of these. So underneath this div, so underneath this block here, we'll create another one, another div. This class name is going to be equal to total saved container. And again, we'll throw in a span. This class name will be equal to total saved. Throw some JavaScript in here. Add your $sign. Concatenate the string. Bills.reduce. Accumulator and value. JavaScript function. Initial value of 0. toFixed 2. And then inside of here, return. And then it's going to be literally the opposite of our first one. So we're going to say not val.enabled. And then if it's not enabled, we'll say money interval transform. We'll pass in the val.monthlyCost. And we'll add that to the accumulator. Otherwise, we'll just pass through the accumulator. That does not need a semicolon. And so let's see. I think the only thing I'm missing is between the span and the div, we want to say selected cost interval. So, monthly, daily, yearly, whatever, saved, colon. Okay, save your file. Let's go look at what we've got here. Okay, it says a bunch of stuff is undefined. Let's see, starting at line 47. So let's see what I messed up here. I put a comma here. How weird is that? This is supposed to be an equal sign. All right, cool. So another error. Let's see. Invalid left-hand side okay. it's probably another typo. Yeah. I don't know why I did this. Sorry, guys. All right. That is better. All right. Cool. So now you can see monthly saved as 0 because all of them are selected. As soon as I say, you know what, I don't need my Netflix anymore, I get rid of that. And now my monthly cost is $805 and I'm saving $9.99 a month. And I'm like, you know what, that's awesome. I'm also going to get rid of Hulu. Now I'm saving $19.99 and I'm only spending $7.95. So now I'm under $800. That's great. So let's put those back. So that is awesome. That is our total cost and total saved. Let's go ahead and throw in our header here so we can switch between selected cost intervals. All right, only 2 more components to go. Let's knock these out. So inside of our components folder, we'll create a new folder and we'll call this bill options.js. And inside of here, style.css and new file, bill options.js. I'll do a capital B just to keep everything consistent here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to copy what I have in build total. You know the drill. Paste it in, remove the return, remove all this extra stuff, search replace, bill options. I'll actually keep my bill context because I need that. And so now we have a fresh component in here. Again, you know, just to make sure that everything's hooked up and I'm not getting any errors, we'll say hello from bill options. And then in my app.js, I will import it. And let's put this at the very, very top. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Save that. Make sure you imported it. And cool. There it is. So let's implement it properly. But in order to do that, I think you know, we're going to have to grab some context. So inside of bill options at the top here, we'll grab 2 items from context. Let's grab selected cost interval. And we're going to use this to determine which one is selected, because the one that's currently selected, whether it's yearly, daily, or monthly, we want to highlight it so that the user who's using it knows it's like super obvious which one is selected. So we will then do set selected cost interval. And we'll pull that from use context. And that will be our bill context. All right. And now everything else is going to be inside of this return. And we want to return a div. And this div will have a class name of interval options container. Okay. And inside of this container, we're going to have 3 divs, and each of these divs is going to represent one of the options. So I'm just going to throw in 3 divs, copy and paste. Okay. And we'll start with the first one. So the first one, we'll go ahead and give it a class name. Now here's the thing. We're going to do a conditional class name. So again, remember I said we want to highlight it if it's the one that's selected. So if currently we're on monthly, we want monthly to have a different color, make it highlighted in some way. So we're going to create a class for that. And we're going to base that on selected cost interval. So this one is going to be daily. That'll be the very first one. So selected cost interval is equal to daily. So this is a ternary operation. We will say that the class name will be selected interval. Oh my gosh. Otherwise, we will just have it be interval. And I'm actually going to copy this class name and paste it into all 3 of these. They will be slightly different. Give me 1 second. So the second one is actually going to be monthly. So we'll change that to monthly. And then the third one will be yearly. Okay. Awesome. So inside of our first one, we want to go ahead and throw in the word daily. The second one, we want to throw in the word monthly. And the third one, we want to throw in the word yearly. And now the only thing left is to throw in our onClick functions. So let's go ahead and inside of the opening tag for each of these, I'm going to go to a new line. I'm going to put an onClick. Whoops. And what I want to do with my onClick is I want to take the event and I want to call set selected cost interval. And I want to set it equal to e.target.innerText. e.target.innerText. And we can literally just copy this because it's going to be the same for each of these. I'm going to save it and let's see what happens here when we click on one of these. So right now it's monthly. If I click on yearly, now it changed to yearly and daily. So you can see here daily we are spending $26.79 and we're saving 0. But if I take phone off, you can see every day I'm saving $1.48. But if we go to yearly, I'm saving $540 every year by eliminating my phone bill, which is great. So let's make this look good now. So open up your style.css file, style.css, and I'm going to paste this in. I want you guys to copy this. And again, I'll go over what's going on here. So our interval options container displays block. The padding is 10 pixels, so there's some space in there. Doesn't feel like it's getting choked. Margin auto, so it's centered. Text align center, so everything's horizontally centered. Margin bottom 25 pixels, again, so that there's some space. Each interval is going to have a lighter font weight. Inline blocks so they can all appear on the same line. Cursor pointer so it's obvious that you can click it. Margin right and margin left to keep them evenly separated. Text shadow so it appears kind of almost three-dimensional. Selected interval, we're going to have a color of gold so that it's highlighted. Text shadow is going to be the same as interval. Essentially, it's going to be all the same styles as interval, except it's going to be bolder and have a color of gold. So I'm going to save this. And you can see now that this is how we would expect it since we're on yearly. And I click daily, and now that one's highlighted. This one's highlighted now. And so now all we have to do is get this centered horizontally and get that that margin bottom working. And the only reason that wasn't working was because we named it interval options container. It should be option container. So save that, and now, yeah, that's way better. Cool. So now we are officially at where we were with the demo at the beginning of the app. Now we're going to add, as I promised, a few more functionality, a few more pieces of functionality. We want to be able to delete bills and also edit the prices of bills. So in order to do that, we'll create another component, and we're also going to have to edit our context and also our app component. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But first, let's go ahead and jump into our components folder and create a new folder. We'll call it, what do we want to call it? Edit bills. And we'll do style.css and also edit bills.js, okay? Okay, so let's copy one of our components, paste it in, clear the return, and search replace. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's actually start inside of our context this time. So I'm going to go to my bill context. So let's go close all this stuff. Bill context, cool. We're going to need a new piece of state. And I'm actually, guys, I'm going to get rid of this effect. All that's doing is logging our bills. So I just want to get rid of that console statement, so that I'm not hogging up the console. You can keep it there if you'd like for debugging purposes, but I don't need it. So const edit mode enabled and set edit mode enabled is equal to use state. And by default, it's going to be false. And we want to pass that through. So we'll go ahead and pass through our edit mode enabled. Actually, you know what? Let's create a wrapper. We're going to need a wrapper. We're going to need two functions that we're going to have to pass through. Sorry. So we want to pass through a edit mode. We'll say edit mode is the name of this function. So we'll create that first. Oops, const edit mode. And what this is going to do, it's just going to take enabled, you know, a Boolean. I don't think we need this. Yeah, we don't need this. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's just pass through the here, set edit mode enabled. We'll just pass that through, but we will need, however, the edit mode enabled. So we'll need that. And we also need a delete bill function. So that is one thing we will absolutely need. So let's go ahead and create that. So right here, const delete bill. And we'll just say bill to delete. And this is going to be very similar to the edit bill function. So we're going to take, we're going to filter the bills so we can copy that line, paste it into here, but instead of bill to update, it's bill to delete. And then all we want to do is take these two lines and paste these in here. So what we're doing here is essentially the same thing as edit bill, but instead of adding the new bill, the edited bill, we're just removing it completely. So we're saying filter all the bills, take all of the bills that are not equal to the bill that we're passing in here, and create a new array from that, and then set our local storage equal to that, and set bills equal to that as well. So that's what delete bill does, and we can pass that in here too. Excellent. So now we have what we need in our context. Let's go to our edit bills function component. So inside of our edit bills component, inside of our return, we're going to need to grab that stuff out of context. So we'll say const bills. We'll need bills. We'll need edit mode, or I guess we'll call it set edit mode. I think, is that right? Let's make sure we got the right names here. Set edit mode enabled. Edit mode enabled. And then we're going to need edit bill and delete bill. So I think, do we already have edit bill? Let me just, yeah, we do have edit bill. Cool. And delete bill. Use state, context, not state. And bill context. Cool. Then everything else is going to be inside of our return. So let's go ahead and build our HTML. Okay. So inside of our return statement, I'm going to throw in a div, and let's go ahead and make this the parent div, and we'll give it a class name of edit bill container. And inside of here, we'll throw in an h6 tag. We'll give it a class name, and we'll say edit mode button, btn, I guess. And then we'll give it an on-click function too. And whenever we click the this button, we're going to set edit mode to false, because, well, here, edit mode, well, we're calling set edit mode enabled, and we'll call it with false. So the text for this button is going to be called done. So this component here, this edit bill component here, is only going to appear if edit bill enabled is equal to true. So you'll see how we're doing that shortly. So just remember that for now. When we click done, though, we want to set edit mode enabled equal to false, and then this whole component will just disappear. Okay. So underneath our h6 tags, we're going to put some JavaScript, and we're going to map through our bills. And we're going to grab the bill, obviously, and we'll say bill index. And I'm going to get rid of that semicolon. And then inside of here, we're going to return some JSX. And we're going to give a parent div here. And let's give this parent div a class name, actually. Let's give it a class name of edit bill row. And I also want to give it a key. And we'll give it a key of bill index. And then inside of here, we'll throw in another div, which is just going to host our title. So we'll give it a class name, set it equal to edit bill title. Looks like I might have skipped a div. Yeah, I did skip a div. This is a lot of divs. All right, so I'm going to cut this for now. So inside of our edit bill row, I'm going to create yet another div. And this one is going to be edit bill row content, class name, edit bill row content. And then that's when we're going to open this up and paste in the one that I cut a minute ago. So this div will have a class name of, we'll call it edit bill title. And the in between the tags, dang, that shot way over there. Okay, in between the tags, I want to put the bill.title. Okay, and then underneath this, we're going to throw in, let's see, an input. So the input, which will allow us to edit the value, we're going to give it a class name, set that equal to, we'll say edit bill cost input. We'll do a type, and let's set that equal to number. And then we're going to do an on change. Actually, let's throw in the value first, just to make it cleaner. The value will tie to bill dot monthly cost. And then finally, we'll do the on change event, which will take a function. We'll grab the event from that. And then we actually don't need the curly braces because we'll use the edit bill function that we already have. And then inside of edit bill, remember we already created this for the for a different video in this same series. It takes the bill that we want to update, so we have to pass in a bill object. So we'll build one here. The title we're not worried about, so we'll just take the bill.title. Enabled we're also not worried about because you edit that outside of edit mode, which is kind of, sorry if that's confusing, but yeah, so bill.enabled. And inside of here, we want, what we really want to edit here is our monthly cost. That's what we're editing with this input. And we're going to edit and update it with e.target.value. Awesome. So I think we are good here. So under this input, I want to also put in another H6, and inside of here, I'm going to put delete, and I want to put it in all caps just to show, you know, hey, this is an important button. Don't accidentally click this. That would be horrible. On click, we will throw in a function which points to delete bill. Okay. And the bill that we want to delete is obviously the bill we're on. And then finally, we'll give it a class name. Set that class name to delete button, UTD1. A little inconsistent with the naming conventions. And above the, let's say above this, where do I want this? Maybe right here. We'll say HR. That's a horizontal row in HTML. So I think we are good to go. So I'm going to save this. It looks like we're not, because it looks like I need to, I'm missing a div tag somewhere. All right, it was just a simple typo on my end. I put the / after the div. It's supposed to be before the div. Cool. So save that, and let's see what happens when we go here. Update bills is not defined. So that's on line 41 in bill context. So if I go to my bill context, 41, updated bills is not defined. Yeah, so we're supposed to be using bills filtered, not bills, not updated bills. So I'm actually going to, we can just, let's just rename this updated bills, save that. No more error. Awesome. So there's no errors, just warnings, and we'll take care of these shortly. And what we need to do now is add the edit button so that we can actually click edit and enter edit mode. And where we're going to throw this is actually in our app component. Actually, where I want to throw that is inside of bill list. So let's go to bill list first. We'll still have to go to our app component, but let's start with bill list. So inside of bill list, we're going to throw our edit button in here. Okay. So where do we want to throw it? Well, we want to throw it directly underneath our bill list container right here, inside of it, but at the top here. And we'll stay consistent with our delete button and our done button and give it an h6 tag and give it a class name. Class name will be edit mode btn. The text will literally just be edit. We'll give it an on click. Now, in order to actually put this on click in here, we're going to have to grab something from context. We're going to have to grab set edit mode enabled from our context here. And what we're going to do is say set edit mode enabled with true as the value. So when we click that, it's going to set edit mode to true. Okay, that's cool, but we haven't put it inside of our app component yet. So let's throw that inside of our app component. And we're going to have to change things up a little bit. We're going to have to grab some context. So const, and then we want to grab edit mode enabled from, oops, not from, equals use context. And we want bill context. Oh my gosh. I need to import use context up here. Okay, so now we have edit mode enabled. But what we're going to do is we're going to conditionally display some of this information based on whether or not edit mode is enabled. Okay, so we have this div here with our bill provider. I'm actually going to remove our bill provider from here because app component, this component right here, is accessing context. And this app component itself, in order to access context, has to itself be wrapped inside of a bill provider. So let's remove this. Okay. And we can get rid of this and save it. And let's go to our index.js. And we need to throw that provider around our entire app. So we're going to say bill provider. And then we're going to put app in between those two tags. Okay. So now that we have our entire app provided in bill provider, our app.js file will now have access to our context. Okay, so now we need to conditionally display some of this stuff. Now, if edit mode is enabled, we want to display edit bills and bill list. I'm sorry. If edit mode is enabled, we want to display edit bills. If it's not enabled, we want to display bill list. So let's start there. So I'm going to throw in some curly braces and we're going to say edit mode enabled, and we're going to do a ternary operator and says if it's enabled, we want to have edit bills. Otherwise, we want to have the bill list. Okay. So I can get rid of bill list here, and we want another conditional statement here that says if edit mode is enabled, we're actually going to say if it's not enabled by short circuiting. So edit mode enabled. If it's disabled, then all the stuff on the right side here will render. So we want to put in a span, and inside of here we'll put bill options. So I'll cut this. Bill options. We want add bill and bill total. So actually this can technically all be inside of the same statement here. So if edit mode is disabled, so I'm going to remove this top one. If it's disabled, which is this side over here, we want to render. Let's get all this. I know this is kind of confusing. I'm actually going to explain it. I promise. Bill list is going to go very last here. I promise I'll explain it. So what we're saying is edit mode, if it's enabled, the only thing we want to render is the edit bills component itself. However, if edit mode is not enabled, we want to display everything else that we have in the app, okay? And I'm going to save this, and let's see what happens when I click edit. We get edit mode. When I click done, we get this. So you can see when I click edit mode, we just have our edit screen, and then when I click done, it goes away and everything else in the app is visible. So the only thing left now is to test whether or not editing works. So let's look here. We have Hulu, it's $10. Let's say we suddenly found a promotion and now it's $4.99 for Hulu. It saves automatically. It updates it automatically every time the input changes. So I click done, and what do you know? It's there, and it's there too. Cool. So we know it's working properly. The only thing to do now is just to style it. So let's go ahead and style it. Inside, let's start with our edit bills. So we'll go to edit bills, and we'll go to our style.css. I want you guys to copy the CSS right here. And this is pretty self-explanatory. We want the color to be red on the delete button because we want it to be super obvious that, hey, you know, danger, danger, don't click this unless you really want to. And also make sure that we add a pointer of it so that they know that it's clickable. And then some stuff to make sure that it all sits in line. And let's see what that looks like really quick. When I click edit, that looks considerably better. We can also throw the same thing on the done button. Let's do that really quick. I'm gonna go inside of my thing here and copy. And so let's look at edit bills. We have the done button, which has an edit mode button. I think what I really want to do is just call it edit mode done button. Yeah. Edit mode done btn. Throw that in there really quick. And then let's give it a hover as well. Let's say color blue. I don't know. Sounds good to me. So when I click edit, yep, that looks good. Okay, cool. So I kind of want to do the same thing with my edit button here. So let's do that. I'm actually going to copy. Might as well just copy this. And that is in our edit bill. No, that's in our bill list component. So we'll go here. And I'm just going to paste this in here. But I need to find the actual name of that class. So it is edit mode button. Yep, that sounds perfectly reasonable. So I'm going to highlight these, search replace, and just get rid of the done part. Save. And then now our edit button. Also, it's much more obvious that it's clickable. So let's just quickly go through this and make sure everything works here. So I'm going to start with a new bill. We'll just say, shoot, I don't know. We'll use Spotify as an example again. And we'll say $14.99, click add bill, it adds the bill. I can disable Netflix, okay? And I'm like, man, I wonder how much I'd be saving every year if I don't use Netflix. I click yearly, $119, wow, that's crazy. I'm gonna actually go ahead and go stop paying for Netflix. So I go out, I stop paying for Netflix, and I come back here, and I want to delete it. So I click edit, go to Netflix, and I click delete, and now it's gone. Click done. But also, I'm like, you know what? I don't need the phone bill that I've got. I want to get the cheaper version of my phone bill. So I'm actually going to go into here and put 35, click done. That updates. The app is working as expected. So everything works as expected. The only thing to do now is to get rid of this warning message right here. And this is saying line 29 inside of edit bills, use state is defined, but never use. So inside of our edit bills component, edit bills, we defined use state, but we never use it. Save it. And then bill total, same thing. Bill total. Go inside your bill total, remove use state, save that. And then bill list, same exact thing, bill list, remove that, save. And then the final one, hopefully, bill options, same exact thing. This is because we were copying our components. So bill options, use state, remove that, save, and we no longer get any warnings. So that is that. All right, guys, that was a pretty awesome tutorial series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.